poor voice is gone with all these recordings I've done today. Look, we're gonna have another slideshow. The outer structure of a thesis. Now, you're probably saying to me, what's the point of this video, okay? This is for all you people out there who have been tasked with doing an undergrad thesis or a master's thesis or a PhD thesis that is going to be used a primary research method like a qualitative or a quantitative or mixed methods. I will have an example for a systematic review later in this video, but for now, I'm going to focus on those primary research methods. And people say to me, Bill, where do I go from here? I've got my literature review chapter done. I know I have to do a methodology chapter, but I'm not quite sure what the overall picture is like. So I decided to make this video as a sort of way of letting you see very generally what the outer structure of a thesis is, okay? So as I said here, this will be a general, where's the old laser pointer? This will be a general outline that you can follow if you're doing a primary research thesis, qual, quant, or mixed, okay? And look, I preempted my detractors out there. I'm going to focus on systematic review then. I know most people think from watching these videos that I have some sort of animosity against systematic review people. I never seem to cover them. I will. I always cover you. I never forget about you, you know. I care about all my clients equally. I need that water. I need it badly. My voice is going to give out by the end of this video. The skeleton of a primary research thesis, okay? The PowerPoint has very helpfully put a skeleton there. Okay, let's have a look at the bones here, okay? I'm really going to lean into that skeleton metaphor. This is basically what you're going to have in your thesis. So the preliminary pages here, which are these ones, what's going to be at the start of your thesis. Now, there might be slight differences, okay? So the abstract could come after the acknowledgements. You might have a declaration here. Your table of contents could come here. You might have a list of abbreviations, and that could come there or could come back here. So these preliminary pages will always change around a bit, okay? So don't worry too much about it. The main thing is that you have them in the thesis, okay? Then you'll come to the main body. So it's going to be introduction, your literature review, theoretical framework if it's not covered in the literature review, a case study if it's applicable will come around this time, just become before the methodology. You're going to have a results and findings chapter. You're going to have a discussion and analysis chapter. Then you're going to have a conclusion and recommendations chapter. And then after that, you're going to have references, bibliography, and then you'll have appendices. So that's essentially the bones of a thesis, so the outer structure of a thesis, okay? So even on a paper, even in a table of contents, if someone says to me, can you have a look at my master's thesis? It's on this particular topic. I did a qualitative study or mixed methods or whatever. First thing I do is head straight to the table of contents to see that everything is there. And if most of this is here, these two here, theoretical framework, case study, they most often won't be there. They might be just subsumed into literature review or methodology. But generally, you would expect to see this. And if you're looking at this yourself and you're thinking, well, I'm missing some stuff here, then you have some work to do. Now the preliminary pages, okay? So title page, very simple. Your formatting guidelines will teach you how to do a proper title page. It'll usually have the logo of the college on the top, the title of your thesis, and then other information like the name of your supervisor, your name, your student number, the department you're with, the qualification you're going for, the year, and then sometimes the word count. Abstract, I have a video on the abstract I can plug here, so there's no need for me to waste any time. Acknowledgements, okay? So look, this is completely optional. For all you mavericks out there who decide I'm going to do a thesis and not thank anyone, you don't have to do this at all. Might be questions raised from your supervisor who's like, they never thanked me. I can't believe they never thanked me. All the errors I put in or didn't put in, not even an acknowledgement. I always think it's good. Your family have probably not seen you in a year, probably more. If you're doing a PhD, so it's always good to give them a little acknowledgement in there, just to keep your marriage or your family life safe after your thesis. Table of contents, fairly straightforward. It's just a list of everything in your thesis. I have a video coming up on how to format a table of contents, so you can have a look at that. Same with list and figure and tables. I have a video on that on how to format it, bring it all together. Then your list of abbreviations is basically like if you have the word like WHO, like World Health Organization, WHO. It's just a big list of terms like that, like HSC, Health Service Executive, that sort of stuff. That's all it is. UN, United Nations. Depending on your field, it'll either be a small list or a large list. And then here's the main body again. So introduction is basically saying background to research. That'll dovetail into rationale, any gaps you've identified, why you're doing the thesis significance. You're going to have a section there that follows that on research questions and objectives. Then you're going to have a thesis outline, which is basically saying chapter 1 was about this, chapter 2 is about that, chapter 3 is about that. Literature review, it's going to change depending on your thesis, but it'll essentially be a lot of headings that are the main topics that you're going to talk about in your thesis that help answer the research question. Theoretical framework, case study, I'll cover them separately again, but essentially they are what they are. It's exactly what they say. Methodology, okay, so that's going to be research philosophy, sampling strategy used, data analysis tactic used, why you chose qualitative over quantitative, why you chose the mixed methods, if there's a pilot study involved, your data collection instruments, survey, semi-structured interview, or whatever. You'll also talk about ethical considerations, consent, that sort of stuff, and then you're going to talk about your limitations. And then obviously, before all that, you're going to have data analysis if I didn't mention it. So if it's a qualitative study, you're going to talk about Braun and Clark or IPA or whatever you used. And then for any sort of quantitative people, the statistical tests you use are going to be mentioned there. Your results findings chapter is basically just the raw data. I have videos on all of this on how to do, on what a results chapter should look like, what a findings chapter should look like. I've also a video on conclusion analysis, and I've also a video on conclusion and recommendations. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here on those. The goal of this video is basically just to show you that this is sort of the order they come in, okay? The end page, okay, so you have your references and bibliography. So depending on the style you use, APA, whatever, it's going to be in A to Z, using the surname first and the whole way down. The Vancouver style will use a numbering system, so it's going to be different there, okay? But generally, if it's just something like the Harvard or the APA or whatever, it's going to be A to Z. There's going to be no numbering in it. Don't number something that doesn't need to be numbered. And then I have videos on how to format that and how to indent them if it needs to be indented. Your appendices. So if you've done like a qualitative study, that's going to involve, your interview questions, consent forms, invitation to participate in the interviews, ethical clearance from the college, code mapping, sort of samples of transcripts, that sort of stuff. That's all that is. So look, I haven't forgot about you. Systematic review. Now, it's going to look more or less the same, okay? It's going to have the title page, abstract, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables and figures, list of abbreviations. Okay, so it's more or less, it'll change subtly depending on what your supervisor wants or depending on what the college wants, but generally you'll have those things in it, okay? You'll have an introduction, then you'll have a methods chapter, okay? So your introduction will sort of function as a mini lit review, because you're doing a systematic review, so the whole thing is a lit review in a sense. Literature search, so there's your search strategy and all that sort of stuff. Results, which would be your evidence table, all the studies. So the other video I have on the systematic review will be constitute a lot of this chapter. The discussion will be your synthesis of it. So basically the narrative of what you found, how they're related, what limitations is there any bias, and then you're going to have your references and bibliography, and then your appendices. So look, this is just overview of what I was talking about there. So that's what the introduction on the method section of your systematic review is doing. That's the great thing about slides. I can have a drink of water here and not be like, I can disappear in the background for just a few seconds. Now, I hope everyone's read that. Well, I mean, you can just rewind the video. I mean, we live in an age of video where people can mute me as much as they want and speed up the video as much as they desire. Literature research, okay, and results. So there's the evidence tables again. And then what I said about the discussion, you're basically addressing the limitations of the included studies and potential bias, exploring avenues for future research. And then the conclusion is summarizing the main findings and reiterating the importance of the systematic review contributing to the understanding of the topic. So look, just remember a few things, okay? So ensure that you follow the formatting and citation guidelines specified by your institution and department. That will dictate whether the table of contents comes before the abstract, or whether there's a list of abbreviations, or where your abstract goes and all that, okay? It's always a good idea to consult with your supervisor for specific requirements and expectations for your thesis. Sometimes the supervisor will operate outside the college. You'll have mavericks who decide that, you know what, I want the thesis done this way. Just be conscious of that, and be conscious that your supervisor has that permission to do so, okay? So it's never good for a supervisor to say, well, I actually want 4 findings chapters. And then your registry or the head of research or your external examiner is like, what the hell is this? I didn't sanction this. This is madness. Why is there 4 findings chapters? So be very careful with straying. You know, you might think, well, my contribution to the knowledge field or my field is to do an experimental thesis. That's not what you've been asked to do. Stick to the same old boring shite, essentially, okay? Don't deviate from it. There's a reason it's the same boring shite for many years, because it works, okay? So don't stray too far from it, okay? And look, don't forget to look at other people's theses. So we saw in those other examples that there is a particular format that you follow. Sometimes people follow it, sometimes people don't, okay? But from the 10 years of me correcting people's theses, everything in this video is what I've seen consistently, and it's what lecturers and supervisors go, yeah, get them to follow that. So you know I won't steer you wrong. And look, we've reached the outro already, okay? This video is just basically me talking about the outer structure of a thesis. The finer details of it, the minutiae of the wisdom I've gathered, let's call it, can be found in those other videos I have on the channel, okay? So it's a little short video, and a lot of times me saying go here, or wherever I'm going to stick the links. And yeah, just remember, look, it's not my favorite term, it's not rocket science. Follow the basic structure I have here, and you can't go wrong, okay? You can't go wrong.